You know that feeling, right? You're on a project, everyone works super hard, and you deliver exactly what was asked for, but it's not what anyone actually needed. It's such a classic problem. Well, today we're going to dive into a really powerful tool that's designed to stop that from happening: the user story. It sounds simple, but trust me, this little concept has totally changed how modern teams build great products. Okay, let's get into it. So, at the heart of almost any project that goes off the rails, you're going to find a communication breakdown. It's wild. You can have customers, managers, designers, developers all in the same room. They hear the exact same request, but they walk away with completely different ideas of what it means. And that gap, that misalignment, it is the single biggest threat to building something amazing. And oh my gosh, this cartoon just illustrates the problem perfectly. If you've been in this world for a while, you've seen it. The customer explains they want a simple three-tiered swing. Okay, easy enough, right? But then the project leader hears a plank hanging from two branches. The analyst designs a swing that somehow goes through the tree trunk. The programmer, bless him, just ties a rope around the tree, and it just gets worse from there. Until you see the very last panel, what the customer actually needed all along: a simple tire swing. That huge gap is exactly what user stories are meant to solve. So, how do we fix this communication nightmare? Well, the answer is this really elegant and honestly kind of simple technique that shifts our whole focus. We stop writing these rigid, long documents and we start telling a simple story instead. The user story is, well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a story. It's a short, informal description of a feature. But here's the key: it's always told from the perspective of the person who's actually going to use it. We're not talking about technical specifications or database schemas here. We're talking about the value a real person gets from what we're building. And this is the classic format. It's absolutely brilliant in its simplicity. That defines who we're building this for, our persona. I want to, that's the action, what they're trying to do. And then the most important part: so that this explains their goal, the benefit they're hoping to get. That last piece is the magic, it connects every single piece of work back to real tangible value for someone. And this quote, this really gets to the true soul of a user story. That template we just looked at, it is not a contract. It's not a detailed spec that a developer just takes and builds blindly. Nope. It is a reminder. It's a prompt to get the whole team, product people, developers, designers, to start talking to each other and figure out what's really needed. Okay, so if a story is basically a conversation starter, how do we make sure it's a good one? One that actually leads to a productive conversation? Well, there are a few tried and true methods that kind of act like a quality check for your stories, making sure they're actually ready for the team to work with. A fantastic little checklist is this acronym: INVEST. It helps you make sure your story is in good shape. Is it independent, so it can be worked on without depending on a bunch of other stories? Is it negotiable, meaning it's not set in stone? Is it valuable to the user? Can the team estimate how much work it is? Is it small enough to get done in a single sprint or iteration? And finally, is it testable, so we actually know when we're done? Let's just double click on that V for valuable, because this is where so many teams stumble. The goal is to deliver a complete, working, valuable thing every single time, and this image shows it perfectly. You don't build a car by delivering a single tire, and then a chassis, and then a steering wheel. None of those things help the user get anywhere. Instead, you deliver a skateboard. Hey, it works. It gets you from A to B. Then you improve it and deliver a scooter, then a bike. See? Each step delivers a complete, usable product that solves the user's core problem. This brings up a really important question, though. If a user story is just a high-level conversation starter, how does the team agree on all the little details? How do we stop that tree swing problem from happening, where everyone has a totally different idea of what done actually looks like? The answer is something called acceptance criteria. Basically, these are the specific, testable conditions that have to be met for everyone to agree the story is finished. Think of them like a checklist that proves the feature works exactly like it's supposed to, from the user's point of view. They draw the line in the sand and get rid of all that fuzzy ambiguity. And a really, really effective way to write these is using the given, when, then format. It sounds kind of technical, but it's super simple. Given some starting situation, like given the user is on the login page, when they do something, when the user enters a valid email, then there's an expected result. Then the system sends a password recovery link. This structure makes everything incredibly clear and, more importantly, super easy to test. Now, all this sounds fantastic in a perfect world, right? But anybody who's actually worked on a real project knows that things get messy. That perfect little template doesn't always fit the reality of the work that actually needs to get done. And this quote from a developer on Reddit just hits the nail on the head. It captures a really common frustration. What happens when the work isn't for a user in the traditional sense? What if you just need to upgrade a database? Forcing that into the as a user format can feel so fake and, like they said, just pointless boilerplate. I mean, does the end user really care about a new library? Probably not. And this is why it's so important to understand the difference between a user-facing story and a technical story. And guess what? It is perfectly okay for the persona in a story to be a developer or a system administrator or even the system itself. The point is still the same. Articulate who benefits from the work and why it's important, even if that benefit is internal, like boosting performance or paying down some technical debt. So we know stories are awesome for this agile, user-focused way of working, but how do they stack up against other ways of gathering requirements? Like, what's the actual difference between a user story and something more traditional, like a use case? This is a really common point of confusion, so let's break it down. A user story is all about the user's need, the what and the why. It's high level, light on details, and perfect for moving fast. A use case, on the other hand, is all about the system's behavior, the detailed step-by-step how. It's way more structured and is much better for things like complex workflows where you need every single interaction spelled out. So here's the thing. It's not a competition. It's not user story versus use case. They are different tools for different jobs, and they can absolutely work together. In fact, they work great together. You can have a user story that sets the high-level goal, and if that story involves a really complicated process, you can attach a detailed use case to it to make sure nothing gets missed. And that brings us right back to the single most important thing to remember from all of this. If you walk away with one idea, let it be this one. A user story is not a specification document that you write up and hand off. It is a promise. It's an invitation to a conversation. Its real power isn't in the words on the card, but in the discussions and the collaboration it creates within the team. So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a question to think about in your own work. The next time you're defining a piece of a project, are you going to treat it as just another task on a checklist? Or are you going to see it for what it really is? An opportunity, an invitation, to start a conversation that leads to building something people will actually love.